Many service providers go beyond simply providing network connectivity for their enterprise customers. They also offer additional services and network functions like network address translation, firewalls, encryption, domain name service, caching, and others. Traditionally, these network functions were deployed using proprietary hardware at the customer premises. This approach provides additional revenue, but deploying multiple proprietary devices is costly and makes upgrades difficult. Every time a new network function is added to a service, a truck roll is required to install the dedicated hardware. Service providers began exploring ways to reduce cost and accelerate deployments through network function virtualization. Network function virtualization, or NFV, decouples functions like a firewall or encryption from dedicated hardware and moves the function to virtual servers. Instead of installing expensive proprietary hardware, service providers can purchase inexpensive switches, storage, and servers to run virtual machines that perform network functions. This collapses multiple functions into a single physical server, reducing cost and minimizing truck rolls. If a customer wants to add a new network function, the service provider can simply spin up a new virtual machine to perform that function. NFV refers to the strategy of virtualizing network functions, moving from separate proprietary pieces of hardware to software running on virtual servers using standard hardware. Virtual CPE commonly refers to any network function that runs on a virtual machine. Let's take a closer look at how NFV helps service providers deploy network functions. A customer has a network service between their headquarters and a branch office that includes a firewall, DNS, and encryption. Prior to NFV, a separate appliance for each service would have been installed at the customer location. With NFV, the service provider can install a generic server at the customer premises, then use a standard IT virtualization platform like OpenStack or VMware to spin up virtual machines for each network function. Physical CPE is replaced with virtual CPE. The server that runs the virtual machines is referred to as a compute node. The compute node includes software called a hypervisor that manages the virtual machines and the resources for the compute node. In the service provider's data center, a virtualized infrastructure manager, or VIM, manages multiple compute nodes. The service provider also needs to run the EMS software that manages the network functions. The EMS servers are also virtualized and run on a compute node in the data center. In reality, providers may have multiple data centers that serve hundreds or thousands of customers. When a new network function is deployed for a customer, it can be done anywhere in the network, at the edge, at the closest data center, or in a centralized data center. Some functions, like a firewall or encryption, are optimal at the customer premises. Other functions, like DNS, can be done in a data center. Distributed NFV means that NFV is done in multiple locations in a provider network, including a mix of data centers and customer locations. Whether a function is distributed throughout the network or centralized in a data center, Planet Orchestrate can create and manage all of the resource instances required to deploy the service. Moving to NFV and virtual CPE allows operators to reduce cost, but it also adds complexity. Creating a service for a subscriber means that technicians need to coordinate resources across a variety of platforms from multiple vendors. Orchestration enables service providers to create repeatable workflows that coordinate and automate the creation, management, and synchronization of the resources needed to create a service. Service providers define a service, then use Planet Orchestrate to implement that service over and over as needed for subscribers. Planet Orchestrate employs an open architecture that enables it to manage hundreds of millions of physical and virtual resources, regardless of the type of resource. Using element adapters and APIs, Planet Orchestrate automates, simplifies, and accelerates the process of creating and deploying new services.